Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe, and you're checking out Weekend at Gabe's, and thanks for checking out this latest episode. While you're here, also follow us on these social medias at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, and also at The Real Sam Crane. Thanks for checking us out. Joining us now, who also has a new record, Heirloom, spoken word album that is absolutely phenomenal. Today was such a trash day, but on my way home listening to it, it just gave me all the feels that I needed and delivered in every respect that I can imagine. Joining us now is Sun Luu here on Weekend. Good evening.
What's up, y'all?
How is it going, man? You look great. You look
Thank you,
fantastic.
brother. Thank you, man. Had to look my best to meet my boy. Long time no see, my man Sam
It has
Crane.
been too long, and I'm so very sad that I was not out in Los Angeles for the release party. But I'm glad that you had some time to sit down with us here on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The new record Heirloom, it's fantastic. Let me just tell you just how absolutely enjoyable the record is. As I was kind of digging deeper into the videos that you've posted and the content that you have out there, it's kind of a collection of work that's been floating around the last several years, and this is the big sort of compilation of all that work being presented together with music behind it. Talk a little bit about how you went into deciding which pieces would make the album, the production, also the production of music choices that you decided to use as well, and how challenging that is.
Yeah. So, even getting into the album, I knew that I had a lot of works that I've saved up over my poetry slam career, and wanting to segue myself into being more of an independent artist rather than being known as like, oh, that slam poet who won this and that. I wanted to be more referred to as a spoken word artist, poet, filmmaker. I wanted to, yeah, kind of just set that chapter aside and focus on being intentional with my art. And a lot of my poetry already reflects family heritage. So when choosing the pieces for the album, I really just sat with what's the what's the story arc I want to tell with the pieces I already have, and seeing which of those pieces would fit. Starting with Chinese 101, kind of introduce you to my culture, then delving deeper into my grandpa, then more of a self reflection towards the end. And also wanting to keep it at 8 tracks because that's the lucky number 8 in Chinese culture, which I bring up in Forever, the seventh piece. So that was kind of after I had my pieces picked out. Mind you, these are, like you mentioned before, Gabe. These are works that I've compiled over the last couple of years, being active as a spoken word slam poet. So I knew that I wanted these pieces to be delivered in a sort of a I'd say a setting off of these pieces, because I want to move on to different stories, different narratives, but I can't do that until I have first given these poems their due justice. And all that you have online are videos of it, live performances, maybe a platform had posted it. But I wanted something that was specifically mine, something I can say I put work into this. There's the only people that are attached are the team members and collaborators that I have in, but essentially this is mine to keep, and mine to give as well. So even getting into the music production process was completely new for me.
I'm
Completely.
curious as to how you felt about that, because we need to get into that, but we talk about sort of the difference, because people don't understand. Like when you say to somebody you do poetry, there's two things they think about. They think about the spoken word, or they think about sort of like rupee card short little poems that you put in a book,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So what was fun for me about this album is that I've been in the room to watch you do a couple of these, and incredibly powerful to experience live. And experience them again, I was like, well, I've heard this before, like when I started out. But as that sort of flower bloomed, I was like, no, this is different now.
Right.
Did you notice that when you were in the studio, when you were working to add music and put music to these things, that they took on a different life than what they had been presented on before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. To give context before I answer that question in its entirety, pandemic was rough. It was rough for everyone, and my personal story was rough for me. I lost sight of what my meaning was as a poet. And you know, like, am I gonna get shows anymore? Like, what's the use? Like, is this the end of, like, artist career in the time being? We're non-essential, et cetera, et cetera. And so when we got to the studio, we had a reference point of like looking at my past performances and being like, wow, I kind of just broke down and cried because I didn't recognize that guy I saw on stage, that guy of bravado, this young, naive kid that just had stories to tell, that happened to have a pretty decent pen back in the day. And so really, going through this process has been a way of like me rebuilding my self-confidence as an artist, finding who I really was, and finding a way that I can perform that exuded my authenticity more so than ever. This was like without the context of a slam. I'm not restricted by 3 minutes on stage. I'm not trying to compete and like, make sure that I beat someone else's story so I get the opportunity to tell another story in the next round. So all those things aside, I was just in there with my producer. I would spit a poem, he would play keys, and I would, try to like, everything was a jam session. So I'd flow on top of his keys. He'd have keys that I'm like, okay, cool. This take right here is something I want to work with. So he sent me an instrumental to that. Then I'd practice on top of that instrumental to see if I can fit my performance into the musicality of his music production. And then it just became that back and forth that built up. And then, as we got a solid foundation of a track, then we, are there specific sound effects for different lines that I say that can fully accentuate that story? Like, could you drop the beat here because this is I reached the emotional climax, so now at this point I want it to be stripped down. I only want my voice to be heard. So it was a lot of like just head down in the studio and just like figuring it out, what's the best way to tell this story.
I read that you initially wanted to be a rapper, but you couldn't rap on beat. So this experience. So what did it teach you about recording yourself over music?
It definitely well, let me first respond to that. Yeah, the reason why I got into spoken word is because I couldn't rap on beat. And that is still the case because I obviously chose to go a spoken word album instead of a rap album, and was like, I tried out, thought like, let me give me one of your beats. Let me see if I could like try to spit over it with some written I just had. Maybe I can add something new to it. And then I just was like, you know what? It's not this one. We'll save it. We'll save that for another time. But within recording my vocals to instrumentals that my producer had made, that process was it was really fun. I definitely did get some bit of like anxiety over like, okay, is it sounding good or whatever? But that slowly that quickly faded away as soon as like I got to take many more takes and like experiment myself. The producer telling me like, all right, you can slow it down here, or you're going too high energy here. So it was really a great learning experience for me. And so yeah, I'm really just happy about how it all turned out.
And since we couldn't make the listening party in Los Angeles, I believe it was last weekend, right?
Yeah, it was just this past Saturday.
Awesome. So talk us through, from your eyes, then giving it away, because I've been to a couple album release parties for different artists around Chicago, and it's a unique experience. It's not a slam. It's not a poetry showcase. It's something completely different. So how did you feel standing in the room, letting this piece of art go to the people?
Honestly, leading up, I was just hoping that I was going to like deliver. If I could deliver, then I'm fine. I'm not looking for like top tier performance, even though that's what I'm aiming for. This is just my first debut album release project, first event throwing on for myself. First everything being an independent artist, from promo to this and that. So I was kind of too busy, managing different hats to really have a full complete vision of what the performance was going to be. So I had worked with my producer who also supplied lights for them to trying to make some kind of one-man play with it, given the time frame that we had. And it ended up working really well. I truth be told, I couldn't sleep the night before, so I was coming with 2.5 hours of sleep to the kind of like tiredness where your brain becomes like TV static, and I'm just like, I just hope I can, like get in touch, get in tune, did some meditating, did some deep breathing. Then when it finally came to the actual performance, and my producer just started it up. We played through each instrumental that I spit over, with no banter in between. Just a pause, lights up for the next one, and just kept it going. And I actually delivered probably like the best performance I have given in my life, really. It was just a lot of the elements of like being with friends and family who were there to support me. My parents and some of my relatives also attending the show, and receiving this work that I had really just built off their story. And so all that gave me a sense of like comfortability, like I'm held right now. It's okay, win, lose, best show or decent show, whatever the case is. I just want to enjoy myself and have fun, and just give this to you guys. For those who've heard these poems 1,000 times, or for you guys who are just listening for the first time, I just wanted to get back into the person I was when I wrote these pieces, remembering who it was for, and just let it out there. And that's exactly what it became. And it was an incredible experience.
For me, it was a first time experience getting introduced to this work, even though, like you said, it's been around for several years, but hearing it produced, and I end up hearing the earlier versions, and no disrespect to the earlier versions, but I much prefer the presentation that we hear on the album. Like you said, it just like the way it was produced and arranged and organized, it just gives that real additional emotion, especially when you reach those high moments of climax of enunciating and spilling that emotion through. And I really appreciate the way that it was executed. To circle back to like your family being at the show a little bit, this record itself encompasses a lot about your family and being raised with your mom and trying to get assimilated into American culture from the Chinese culture, and trying to find a path forward, but through these complexities of either racism, bias, all these just isms that are weighing a toll on your family. And even listening to it now, 3 years, 4 years after you've written it, like, is your family still like thoroughly affected by your experience of what you felt or what you saw during that time period? And how do they still react to those records and to those pieces?
That's a good question. Honestly, they haven't heard too many of those pieces. They've only heard Chinese 101 and Grandpa's Letter. And so I hadn't, during the earlier parts of my career, there was that sort of need to live a double life with them, where, be the college student, getting the good grades and like looking for a lucrative job by day, doing this art stuff that I'm really passionate by night. It's a typical artist story, especially for Asian Americans or immigrants. Art is obviously something that they don't see lucrative, and us being an artist, hey, it's definitely, it's a tough grind.
Right.
So I hadn't really showed them a lot beyond those, and even those they enjoyed. But due to language barrier, I don't think that they truly understand all the nuances within it, for better or for worse, but when I was able to share with them live the whole thing through, uh, and with them seeing a lot of this new work, I definitely felt anxious. But again, I was just too tired to care. I was like, I just got to execute, just got to make sure I deliver this, whatever consequences, if my dad gets mad at me for going too personal with some stuff or issues or whatever, then we'll get to that. But after I was able to just do it, I actually got a lot of like love and support from my family, and like hearing from relatives who did understand the deeper meaning behind it, and they understood the pain, they recognized the pain, they acknowledged it. They also celebrated my takeaways and they came out proud of me, really, which was the biggest thing like an Asian kid can really hear from their fathers, like, hey, they're proud, it's like, what, for this, for spoken word, and not for my paycheck. Okay, look, there we go. We making strides.
Right. Absolutely. We've talked about all the things that that adding this layer of music has added to those pieces. Conversely, on the other side of the coin, do you ever get conscious about what is lost? Because there's a certain, I mean, me and you have both been inside slam rooms, been sharing very deeply personal pieces with each other. There's a certain energy in those rooms that is sacred and holy a little bit. Do you feel that you lost anything?
Well, that's a good question. Let me think for a second. I wouldn't say it's so much of a loss as it is a intentional choice to not include it, or to not let it exist within my project. I've loved my time in slamming professionally. I love the friends and the connections I've made through that environment. But I knew that it was important for me to carve my own path as an artist for what I want to create. And I know that that choice just does not include, that kind of space, that kind of environment, that kind of association, right? I don't want, I don't want my album to come out to be heard by people and be like, damn, that sounds like a button poetry poem. And I would just weep to the corner, just be like, geez, I failed. All this work, and I couldn't disassociate myself from a live slam performance that someone had just, went off the cuff, practice all their whatever and just did it. And I put all this work in this production. You're like, button poetry, right? No, I couldn't do that. I couldn't.
I hear you.
I think it was in one of the songs that you swam in high school. That was something that you did competitively, I assume. So do you just prefer to do things alone, poetry, spoken word? It's like all these like individual competitions. Is that just where you live at?
Yeah, for better or for worse, I like to be a lone wolf with things. Even with doing all this work for the album release, I designed the flyer, I designed the flyers, I designed the album cover, I designed the book. A lot of it was like my hand, and truth be told, I need to be a better leader and just outsource it, because I cannot keep on sustaining myself this way. I can't do everything. But there definitely was that drive in me to just, want to stick out, want to just do, want to let people know that I am capable, that I don't need to depend on a group to tell my story. And so, that the individualism in me had always been present.
Got it.
All right. Before we wrap up here, we like to ask a couple of fun questions, and we've had a few poets on the show before, and I like to ask them this question. It usually catches people off guard. But when was the moment that you fell in love with words?
Hmm.
Oh, when was the moment I fell in love with words? Oh man, good question. Because it's not poetry specific, but words. Um, mm, um, uh, I think it was when my mom was teaching me Chinese, for the first time. Uh, and giving me uh, different stories and mythical anecdotes, for the reasoning behind different words and why it's written that way, and the different jokes, associated with the Chinese characters. And so that was when I was, first really learning a second language to English. And, at first as a kid, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I already do after school. Now you want me to learn a whole new language? Like, Jesus. Um, but you know, in retrospect, that was when I first started getting interested in understanding the meaning of words and how they hold more weight than just what it's written on page. And so that kind of sparked my interest in writing. Not like I had any choice, is my homework, right? So um, but yeah, from there, being creative, writing poems, and all that leading up to now.
Word, word. And then backing off of that into your writing process, we talk a lot with musical artists, rap artists on the show. They talk about going on tour. Some people have crazy tour requests, like Kanye famously for the Yeezus tour wants all black towels in his hotel room. If they're not all black, he doesn't want it.
Hmm.
So my question to you is, somebody, let's call him Bill Gates, somebody with an crazy amount of money,
Okay.
commissions Sun Luu to do a poem. What do you need to make it happen? Is it like, a can of Budweiser and a nice sunset?
Mm.
What would you be asking for? And bear in mind, this person has a lot of money and they're willing to pay you whatever you want. Blank check here.
Okay. Okay. All right. Woo. Okay. This is a good question. All right. So, first, yeah, my choice would be the background of a sunset. Really, really let people know what my name's all about. Sun Luu, right?
Yeah.
Brightness, energy, right? And that's the golden hour right there with sunset. Okay. I don't care if it's gonna be on the exact time and weather, rain or shine. You better have a big old green screen behind me. I don't give a shit. You better be there. Um, and I'm going to need um, uh, contemporary dancers, and I need them to. I'm going to need. Let's just go for at least 15 dancers that are just practicing the night before, just doing the choreo for my poetry. So I need them front and center. I need me. I need me to have one of those elevator platforms.
Yep.
You know what
I
I'm
know
saying? Just
Yep.
like I gotta be standing up, and I gotta make sure that there's smoke coming out, right? Um, top quality mic, headset,
That's a headset mic.
wireless
That's a headset mic. Is a different
headset mic.
than yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Wireless, okay? All
Yeah.
right. They're gonna see these hands and like all the movements. It's gonna be a dance within my performance too. And I'm gonna need backup vocals. I'm gonna need a whole orchestra. And yeah, I think that's oh, and at the end, fireworks. And I think that'll be a good performance to
That
give
is an
to go big
excellent
goals.
list. An
Yeah.
excellent list.
I think Sun Luu just completely exempted himself from any future A Weekend at Gabe's productions with that.
Yeah, we can't afford this man. That's why we had him on tonight. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Well, it's all good. It's all good.
Shoestring budget is more like
We'll work with it.
Span budget.
We'll work with it. Anything's possible virtual.
Word. Okay, final question here. We interview a lot of rappers on the show, and I'm curious because I know that you are a fan. What were your favorite raps to listen to growing up?
Oh man, oh god, I was an angsty kid, so it was just like all Eminem.
A lot of Eminem.
Yeah, like strictly Eminem. Like I'd be like, all right, Drake's cool, Nicki Minaj, she's got her flow, she's got her like her grit, but then like all the angry stuff of that I had, all the anger I had with my parents, that was definitely like Eminem, and I would like um forget about Dre. I love his verse on that. Like B word, I'ma kill you. My mom actually saw me print the lyrics for that and was like, what is this? And I was like, no, it's a school project, we got to look for writing, that's why. She didn't buy it at all. But yeah, it's definitely like anything from Eminem.
That is excellent. Excellent. I love that.
Heirloom is the new album from our guest, Sun Luu. Go put it into your lives. It's on all digital streaming platforms. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Where can we get the book? I was just going to ask, where can we get the book?
Yeah. So getting them printed and produced, going to be updating my socials, and I'm going to be announcing it sometime this week. But the CDs are up for sale, and you can find Heirloom streaming on all platforms. It's live now, so yeah. If you want to take a listen to what we've been talking about, that's where you can find it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I need the book, so you gotta keep us posted.
Yeah, you can tell that Gabe really likes books, and he doesn't like to read.
I can see it. I respect a well-read, cultured man. So
there you go.
There we go.
Some of it's for show, a lot of it isn't. I'll let you decide.
Okay. All right.
Sun Luu joining us here on Weekend at Games. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck with the album, and like I said, keep us posted when we can get some merch in our mailbox sometime soon.
All right. Thank you both for having me on, and thank you so much for your support. I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, buddy. Excited to see what comes next.
Looking forward to it, man.
Sun Luu joining us here on Weekend at Games. That's going to close out our Tuesday night. That was a really fun show. I really enjoyed talking to both of them because, again, they're both such insightful individuals, well thought answers, really in depth. They've considered everything that we asked them and had a really nice response that didn't allow us to do much of anything. But listen, today was just listening. So I appreciate that.
That's important. I had a whole page of questions and I got to 5 of them.
That's how you do it. Listen, it's a bad guess when you get through 10, 12 questions.
Yeah, no, you know what? You're right about that. You're definitely right about that.
If you get through all of them, that means this probably wasn't a great interview. Just for some folks out there wondering how this all works. There could be a guest who just really just eats up all your time after one question.
We've had that before too. It's like you ask one and then it's 40 minutes later.
Yeah, it's like cool. All right, well,
sweet. Catch you next time.
Yeah, I was out. Yeah, I guess you covered all the bases with your response.
All right, Gabe. What we got going on next week? Next week, Thursday. Thursday is our last show, ladies and gentlemen. Thursday night is our last show for a week. We're taking a week off for the holidays, so you will catch us back November 30th. But on Thursday, November 18th, we got another big show planned for you. Gabe, take it away.
The return of Thursday Thunnies before Thanksgiving. Zach Ruby's going to be joining us, comedian. And then Eagle Jalil, a Chicago rapper, he was set to perform last Friday with King Louie, and Chicago's finest, the Popo, shut it down. So we're going to get some insight into what the hell happened.
Finest being the operative word in that sentence.
I'll let you decide who that is. But we're going to get to that, but also we'll learn a lot more about who he is and the music that he makes. So it's going to be really fun. Final show before we get to Thanksgiving break. So please join us on Thursday night here on Weekend at Games at 8 o'clock on Twitch TV. That's the place to be. But yeah, I'm ready to lay down. This show today was just a beast. So hopefully everyone out there also gets some rest.
Yeah, it's been a lot. And there was only 3 things to do, Gabe. Tell them.
Share, support, and show love. That's all you do live. Don't forget to follow us A Weekend Gabe, that Weekend Gabe to the Real Estate Trainers. We are out Thursday night, America. Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe. Thanks for checking out this latest episode of Weekend at Gabe's. Click on any of the links swirling around my head and also hit the subscribe button while you're here. Thanks for checking out us here on YouTube.